I have a question on this. So when does this start, like, for kids? Like, or the pledge can be like where they've already used it and stuff. So, like, is there like a class that a parent will have to go to actually? Because okay, like, let's say you take the pledge and the kid's already highly addicted to it, and then you're like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. Like, do y'all, like, I feel like there needs to be a class for parents to be like, this is how you need to, like, give something else. Okay, so like, take this addiction away. You give them something else.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And you've nailed what we're hearing is, like, we've had schools say, can you please come talk to the kids? So we're literally taking our presentation that we've designed just for parents to now be for the kids. And we're calling it the app trap because we want to make it sound cool for them. And this, so yes, absolutely. So we just did a training. Each school that we do, we designate like a family lead. They're volunteers. They help rally the community. Really a grassroots organization. It's different than just saying sign this pledge and move on. We engage and make sure they have leaders at that school so they could technically run it on their own. We just support them. So we do a training for the family leads. And then throughout the year, we hire speakers to come to the schools. So we had Dr. Collier come in the fall. We have 4 other speakers lined up. And then we're also going to be doing this.
For the parents or the students?
For the parents. And the students will have a speaker come as well. But one piece I want to share, because there is hope, right? Like, let's not leave on such a terrible negative. But we're going to be doing a program after the new year for this school, and Dr. Collier calls it the family code, but we're going to be calling it like a family workshop. And we'll be sitting down. Every family needs to come together and decide, like, what do we care about as a family? And literally talk about it. Put it on paper. How uncomfortable is that for an 11-year-old? Yeah. They don't want to do it, but they walk away feeling like, oh, I'm part of something, that we care about each other, and I'm going to try and do the right thing for my family. And that's also lost, because when you do something bad on social media, nobody knows. I can get away with this. Meanwhile, there was like these 2 kids in a school in our program. They had smartwatches and they vandalized the school, and they put it on their phone, and then they decide to like publish it, put it on, and they're like, come on, like, we saw this. Y'all are in trouble. Wow. So kids, I mean, it's their brain. They're too young. They don't know how to make good decisions. They don't have the executive functioning skills yet to do that. But, they think nobody's looking.
Another thing, this might be overstepping, but I'm just wondering, like, with some of these, because this is a certain program, I know y'all probably don't have like the manpower for it, but is there like almost like house visits or something? Like, because you got to treat it like if it were an addiction. No, but think about it. If it was an addiction thing, everybody's circumstances are different, especially like in a public school. You have widely different people there, where it's like you have this rich family. Like, I had a friend that was like, their parents were super rich. They owned a trucking company, and I went to the house and I was like, oh wow, like, but I'm living in this poor little shack or whatever. It's like differences to where it's like, are y'all struggling with it? Are y'all even, like, you know what I mean? Like, is there something like that to be like, is there something that we need to help with or something like that?
Support? Do you have
almost like a support thing?
No, as we grow, we have seen, oh gosh, there's a fire over here. We got to jump. And eventually we would love to be able to get into that area, but there are so many like licensed counselors in the area. So at the moment, if we were to be approached, we'd have to refer out. But there are scenarios, like we had a teenager at one of these school events, and we had a booth, and it was mother-daughter, and the mother came over to ask a few questions, and the guy from my organization was like, why don't you check your phone? How many hours were you on your phone? And she was on the phone the last night, 13 hours, which meant she got like no sleep. It was a school night. And, you know, in that case, you're like, your child needs help. Yeah. She was on the phone for 13. I mean, how did you have enough time in the day? You didn't. You stayed up till 4 a.m. The mother had no idea. She was really upset. And that's the other piece. Another kid we know on his own decided, let me calculate out. If I might check your phones like to now, I tell everybody listening to this, go on your phone right now. How many hours did you spend on your phone last week? So count 7 days, right? Then count how many days are in a year, multiply that, estimate how many more years you have left to live, this high schooler did that, he realized he would have spent 17 years on his phone if his usage continued the same. 17 years. What do you get out of that? Tell me, what do you get out of it? In 17 years, you can make some major accomplishments in life. Not much is going to come out of scrolling through Snapchat.
Wow.
TikTok. That's a lot. You can grow a whole family. You can do a lot of things in 17 years. So, yeah, it just kind of sucks you in. So there are extreme scenarios. There's different socioeconomic individuals we know we need to accommodate. There's different languages. We're translating our material into Spanish to help with that. If the school's not totally on board, it's a challenge. The principal needs to really buy in because everybody else kind of follows. We're working with the school counselors to identify like specific situations that really need help. We had an 8th grader parent reach out to the school counselor. My son has no friends. You know, he doesn't have a phone and he's smartphone. He feels like he's missing out. And at that case, whether it's true or not, that's how this kid's feeling, right? Coincidentally, one of our staff members had just met with the counselor. She's like, hang tight. Let me look at the pledge numbers in that school for you. And it turned out there were other kids in his grade whose parents had signed it. So I was like, here's the names. Like, put them in touch. He's not alone. Oh. He thinks he's all alone. He's not. You know, and 8th grade's a hard year. That's a tough one. But if you hang tight, you'll feel the beauty of it. So.
And you're also dealing with like the new generation that doesn't know, like we said, it doesn't know what it's like before. Like for us, if we know we have an addiction to it, where it's like, oh, dude, I've been on this thing forever. We can remember back when we were kids, like when it was what it was like not to use it, to where it's like, oh, I'll survive, I'll be fine with it. Totally. They have no reference point for like, what do I do without the phone? Like they don't know. Oh, you can go outside and play. I can play. Like how do I, like with the neighborhood kids? What like.
Part of the executive functioning skills. This one, the speaker we work with had a client call up like in tears. So she's thinking like, oh my God, something is just like terrible happened. Excuse me, I have to take this call. Calm down. She didn't know where she was. She was lost. And for some reason decided to call her. And she's like, my map thing's not working. She was around the corner from her house. They had just gotten so they don't used to know
watching the GPS.
Yeah, no, they don't pay attention to street signs. They're not learning the basics.
I literally just had this conversation with my husband because I don't know. I've never been like lost or anything like that. But I think I watched too many scary movies as a kid to where like they were always lost. And I'm like, how do you not know? Like that was always my question in the movies. Like, why don't you know where you are? Like you can't call somebody for help. Like I'm here, you know? So like I always pay attention. You know, I'm always like, okay, I can get, I saw this street brought me through here, but I can also get here. In
case like, you have to get out.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I know. Like
they don't know that.
One of my biggest pet peeves about my husband is that he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? He knows where he grew up and that's probably about it. And we lived in this area for so long. And sometimes he would still ask like, oh, where? I'm like, oh my God, we've been to this Whole Foods 100 times. Like, how do you not know how to get there again? We go the same way every time, you know? But it's like, everybody relies so much. And I told him, I said, I don't know if, I think we're the same age. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the key maps?
Oh, you
the
used to
book?
print them out.
No, that was MapQuest.
Oh, I'm thinking MapQuest.
No, this was books, and you used to go buy these you can buy them from the gas station. Kmart had them. Kmart.
I feel like I had one in my car.
Okay, so this was a book, and sometimes when I would be driving with my dad, he said, we're going to go blah, 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 and I'd be like, okay, let's see, we're here, literally, like coordinates, and you're just like, okay, Dad, so you're going to take 610, and then it's going to swerve, and then, like, literally, you're and then I'd have a highlighter to highlight which is the route we're going to go. And that's kind of like...
that's exactly it. That's executive functioning. Like, beautiful situation. Your dad made you use it when you were a child. To your point, they're not having to ever. I mean, you're born with now
There's
this
no reference point.
device. So that is not being developed. You don't use it, you lose it forever. We're not talking like in 40 you can kind of bring it back. The brain is done. It's very scary, but
yeah, I'm having to like everything, like rethinking of how to teach my son and stuff like that. Just on certain qualities, like I want in him, like even like this week, or no, like last week. I'm sorry, when was last? I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It was like I went to go see him, and he made me wait. Like I told him I'm gonna be there in like 40 minutes, get dressed, whatever. He literally had me waiting in the car for like 30 minutes. And he got in the car and I was like, hey, bud, I just drove 3 hours. I told you I was going to be here in 40 minutes. The next time you do this, I'm going to leave. I like drove 3 hours, dude. And if you make me wait again, I will leave. And we won't do anything fun. And I go, that sucks, because I told him, I like to spend time with you. But in order for you to learn this, I will drive back for 3 hours and not see you this week. I go, don't make me wait again, because you're going to need that later. If you make people wait, this is what it does. You know, you could lose out on jobs. You could lose out on this, opportunities. I go, if you don't do these things, this is a lesson I will ingrain in you, whether I have to drive back 3 hours or come back.
Yeah.
So figure it out.
Time management.
Yeah.
Like those things right there, we need to get back to doing that with kids.
So I will, while I'm getting like, I always make Penny's lunch at night, right? And so in the mornings, after I get her ready, she eats breakfast, but we have little like crafting tables in the little living room. And so she'll sit there and watch. I told you she's not a tablet person. So she turns on the TV to watch, like the YouTube that she likes to watch. And so she lollygags. And I'll say stuff like, okay, if I said, you don't start doing what I'm telling you to do, this is a privilege. You will not watch TV while you're having breakfast in the morning. I said, because you got to remember, I said, you're going to school to learn. So I need your brain to be fresh. Mm-hmm. I said, so if this is going to be a problem, you're going to eat breakfast in the breakfast room. Do you understand? And so it was like, oh, okay, that put a pep in her step to where it was like, oh, my mom said I have to have my shoes on. So she figured it out. Going back to this, she figured it out. So she started to have her shoes ready, her socks ready, by her little table, so that when I tell her it's time to put your shoes on, she puts her socks on, her shoes on, and she's ready to go. So she's not like, well, where are my shoes? I don't know where my shoes are. And I said, because I always tell them, like, it's not my job to keep track of your shoes. It's your job to keep track of your shoes, you know? Mm-hmm. And so she blames everybody. She blames her nanny. She blames me. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking care of your shoes. Like yeah, it's like, ma'am, this is your job, not my job. Find your shoes. Like, you know, but I know I've kept you here a little bit and I know you got to go, but one last question I wanted to ask you real quick. And you can say, I don't want to talk about that, but what did you, after learning all this, what have you changed at home now? Because you have 3 different ages.
Yes.
And so
I can go through each one. No, absolutely. And, you know, it's not easy, no matter what. Also, because we're not just moms, but we're all spread really thin. I think we're growing up as a parent in generational times where this ability or desire or thoughts that you can do everything for some reason just kind of got dumped in our laps. So because of that, I think we're also seeing a product of that in our kids where we handed them something that kept them quiet because it felt nice. So guilty there as well. So with my youngest, I noticed she was always asking for my phone. She did not have her own device. She had an old iPad of my mom's that was like cracked all down the side. That disappeared right away. And then there was no longer, you can sit in the bed for a half hour and go on YouTube while mom gets the other 2 ready for bed. I just was like, it's done. She was probably just watching cute shows on it, but it was more when I took it away, it would just bother me every time that I wasn't even getting a thank you because she wasn't realizing it was a privilege and a treat. So that's over. She will watch TVs with everybody in the family, but no longer individual alone time for her. My middle child, the same. She had an iPad. She loved watching this one YouTuber who taught her like photography. She actually, interesting enough, just pulled her iPad out yesterday. I hadn't seen it probably about 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So if she does go on it, it's monitored and it's only on the weekends. I know I'll never win. Mom will never win against any device. We will forever be second. And I'm not doing it anymore. If I call for dinner, it should be like boots in.
Yeah.
How can I help you set the table? So I also, for my own sanity, I needed that change to happen. I don't like calling my kids more than like twice. It pisses me off. So that was beautiful. My oldest child, she has a Gab watch. She's in middle school. She travels for sports. I like being able to get a hold of her. She does have a laptop at home.
How does that watch work? Who else has one? I know someone else my girlfriend Branya bought her son one because because we went for a hike when I went to go visit her. She lives in San Diego, and we went for a hike, and the hill is behind her house, but you kind of have to go out of go around the neighborhood and then go up, right? So you can't get to it from her backyard, even though it's in the backyard. It's really weird. But anyway, I said, well, where are we leaving the boys, right? Because for me, it's like, oh, no, I can't do that, So she's like, oh, no, he has a watch. If anything happens, he can text me from there. I was like, wait, what? He's like, he's not allowed to have a phone, but he is allowed to have this watch. And I guess the watch, he can text to her. And then when she's on her way to pick him up, from like games or whatever, even she says her mom's, she reminds me a lot of you remind me a lot of her as well. Cause she has a group of moms where they take turn picking up from
that's cool.
practices. And so 1 week it's one mom every day, like that whole week, it's her job to take all the boys.
That's a good idea.
And they all live right there. And then the next week it's the next mom. It's 3 moms, but they all rotate,
Survival.
Yeah, exactly. And she's always been an expat, so she's always had to meet other moms, and so figure out a community. So she's always been very good about community. It's funny because she was the one when she came back from the States, because she lived in China for 13 years, and when she came back to the States, she was like, "Oh, I'm going on a play date with." I was like, Where do you find this? I'm like, how do you find this? I'm like, it's so weird, and she's like, no, it's so weird that you don't know. Like it was funny. She was the one.
Will come through your kids' school.
Okay, and then she said, she
kids sound older than your child.
Her youngest is 1 year older than Penny, and then her older son is, I think he might be 9. Yeah. And so, but she was the one that told me about indoor playgrounds, which I never even knew existed. And she was like, oh, do you want to meet me, when she was living here? And I was like, oh, yeah. What is an indoor playground? I said, is that like, I've only seen them for dogs. And so I didn't know they had them for like little kids. And she's like, Marisol, she's like, what is up with you? And I was like, I don't know, I'm a first time mom. Geez, like, cut me some slack here, And so anyway, she had this watch, and it was so interesting because she's like, it reminded me of you when you let the girls cross the street to go to Bath and Bodies. And she said, he has to learn to be responsible for himself and his brother, And I always think opposite of that, because I hated that my mom made me responsible for me and my sister. Does that make sense? And I always blame her for not ever wanting children, because I felt like she put that responsibility on me. And I was like, when I would talk back, that would be what I would say. I'm like, I didn't have her, so why is she my responsibility? You know what I'm saying? So that was always a lot of, and so I don't like doing that to Penny. But then when I see other parents do it, it's almost like, when she broke it down to me, it was like, he has to be responsible for his brother, because that's his sibling, not his kid. It's his sibling, and they go to school together. They hang out together. So I teach them both to take care of each other. And so when mom's not home, brother's in charge. And so what brother says he has to do. And so these are things, so she has a list of things that brother is allowed to take charge of, and then what brother is not allowed to say. And it's so funny because it's like,
that's very organized.
That's very important. Okay, because I used to be a little dictator when I was a kid.
She's so good. I always admire her, and I'm always like,
that's great.
She's such a good mom, you know. But she also a lot of thought in it. She's such a good mom. I always tell her, like, I'm like, you're such a good mom. And she's like, oh no, I'm just figuring it out. She goes, I'm just figuring it out like you are. She's like, it's just like, and it's true. It's kind of like what you said. It's like, this may not work for everybody. There can be another version of this for your family, but this is a great way to start. It's like something good to start, because now I feel like I'm not as strict with Sunny as I was with Penny. Penny I said, no more iPad and you're done. While Sunny, I'm just like, okay, I got to do homework with Penny right now. So can you sit here? So like,
it was the same thing in my house.
So you know what I'm saying? So I feel like maybe instead, while she's doing homework, needs to be doing her learning apps instead of that age. Right? Yeah,
but it's hard. You don't want to tell your kid no, because you don't want them to be upset and feel like they're missing out. But I think what we see now is you're going to feel a lot worse for them when these problems multiply when they're older.
Sure.
Right? So it may feel like sweet and innocent now, but this is how it all begins.
Think about the travesty too. Like the fact that they have these things. Kids are now watching other kids play and do stuff on things when they used to just play. Yeah. On top of that, now that they have devices they can just watch, where's the imagination? Where's the toys that they would make this whole little world in their heads and play with toys? The imagination's gone.
For sure.
What I mean? And then the whole thing with the sister and taking care of your sister, think about the bond it built. Like, that's the one thing I think.
That's true, because me and my sister are inseparable.
That's what I'm saying.
Her. Like, yeah, that is very true.
Because at the end of the day, people are like, blood is thicker than water. But think about it like this. People that are your family, you're just born with them. If you don't have a bond with them, they're just people at the end of the day. So unless you build that bond, unless y'all been through something, you don't have anything with those people. They could just be strangers when you grow up. It doesn't matter. It's the bond you build with them. If you don't have that bond, and you think of it from your perspective as a mom. If you die, they at least have each other, and they were able to learn under your guidance to like how to take care of each other.
So one thing we say is go back to family dinners. Seems like so simple, right? And not every family can do it 5 days a week. But I get it. It's a struggle. We for sure do it on a Sunday.
What?
Having a family dinner.
Oh, yeah.
My kids now, we go around the room, and one of the cheesy part, the Casarez family, is they say the best part of their day and the worst part of their day. And that is the only way. As your kid gets a little bit older as well, for my older child to open up, because otherwise she's too cool for school. She's like the middle schooler. And
how do you deal with her?
Yeah, well, she has to participate in our conversation. We go around the table. We even make Dad do it. And sometimes he's not in the mood. But it's like, get off your phone and chat. Forces him. And that's how you get to know your family. It doesn't automatically just happen.
Yeah.
And it is not easy. And the time that goes into it is very hard to breathe into. It's like, this is a priority. This is what I need to be doing with my life. It is not posting on something because I need to grow my business.
Yeah.
It's very untangible. But if you consistently do it, you'll then see like, oh, wow, I have a relationship with my children. And I think everybody wants a relationship with their child. I think for the most part. You may be annoyed with them in a certain phase of life. But we all dream of that. So it doesn't just happen. And so family dinners is a great place. And you can't have a family dinner if you're all sitting on a device.
For sure. Do Mary's friends also, are her parents?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
And I've heard group of friends, some have phones, some don't.
Okay.
And during COVID, she had an iPad, a laptop, because she had to for school. And they did start like a group chat because they needed help kind of coordinating like what page, what this thing, other. And at the time, life was like so different. So they still have this chat and no problem sharing. I told her as well, I read everything. It goes to mommy's laptop. Every single message that goes through on that chat, I read. And so she doesn't go on it anymore. Every so often they had to pick Halloween costumes. So I said, okay, you can go on. Y'all can figure it out. Tell me what it is that you want. But it looks a lot differently. It is not a free-for-all anymore with her. It's just, it's too scary. It just makes me nervous. So she's not there yet. She's only 11.
Yeah.
A lot of moms will be like, well, you'll see in high school she's going to need it. And so I'd rather she learn now. This is what they tell me. while it's under my roof. And I want to say, like, well, how much of it is under your roof that you're really watching at 6th grade? You may think your kid does not need time to learn technology. These kids take like less than a day to learn whatever's new.
And they're teaching it in school now. You go to technology classes.
Like, you don't need to prepare your kids in Snapchat for high school. And I get it.
And Snapchat's the number one place where they buy drugs.
Number one place. And the United States is the top consumer of all illicit substances. By many percentages. We are not great as a nation.
We're a consuming nation.
We are a consuming nation.
But also just think about, like, if you instill principles in them and you instill these other things, if you take that time when they're younger to do that, you don't have to worry about what other people are doing. Because at the end of the day, if you're giving the kid attention, like your undivided attention, not just attention while you're watching your phone, like literally giving like your attention, you're able to teach them how to be an individual kid who can think for themselves, and you can trust that they're going to be able to make these decisions because they've made them around you on smaller scale, so that when they're out there, they're not just getting because think about what a lot of this is doing. It's basically like all of it is like manipulating your kids overall because it's funneling everybody to think a certain way, to be a certain way. You're seeing the same things as other kids. There's no individuality. There's no creativeness. You're doing what somebody else tells you. They're deconstructing everything to the point where they're just like lost at the end of the day because they haven't gone through any hardships. They have no idea how to actually analyze things and then figure out and make a decision. So that's what I see when I see all of it.
Recently, Mary, my elder, said, Mama, can I get a smartphone? Can I get a phone? I was like, oh, interesting. And I was really happy and proud of her, even though she knows my role professionally, that she asked me, right? So she's open. And that's what I always want. Ask me, tell me anything. I don't care how bad it is. And so I didn't say no, because then that shuts her down, and she realizes if she asks me something, there'll never be a conversation.
Yeah.
But I said, oh, really? Okay. I want to know why. Talk to me, girl. Like, what is it? Why? What are you going to do with your phone? And got no answer. And it was like, and don't tell me it's because everyone else is getting one. Okay. That's not going to fly.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, no problem. If you don't have a reason, when you do, come talk to me. Let's have a conversation.
Sure.
So that was like a month.
And she still doesn't have a reason. That's hilarious. That's a good thing.
But, let your kid, you want to have that, right? Like, you want to know mom is open, dad's open to it, but we're going to talk about why. Like, we just recently had to tell why you can't just eat carbs and cheese all the time because we're going to explain to you why you need to add something to your diet.
It's funny because, you said principles and all that. I feel like the same way as I'm strict with like things that they're allowed to eat and not eat is the same way we should be about technology, right? Yeah. Because like I'll use the whole soda situation. Penny's not allowed to have
banned a major component to soda finally. Yeah. I just saw it in the news.
Really?
And it's scary because kids have been guzzling that down and it's like so bad for their bones.
What was it, aspartame or what?
I have to look it up. I just saw an alert on my phone like yesterday. I can pull it up.
Really? Oh, well, she's not allowed to have soda. And so they're not. I'm sorry. And so my nanny doesn't get why. Okay. She doesn't understand because her grandkids are allowed to have soda. And so then also my child had never had McDonald's. And so she said to me, Penny asked, she goes, how come I'm not allowed to have soda, but she names all my nanny's grandkids get to have soda? I said, well, because that's their parents' choice. I said, we all are different parents. I said, and it's not good for you. So I told her that the soda explodes in your stomach. So then my nanny has to have soda every day. Like she has a soda, like at least she drinks at least 3, at least. So she told her, she tells her that soda's not bad, that you can have it. You just can't have a lot of it. And I said, do you ever see mom and dad have a soda?
Yeah.
And she says, no. I said, do you ever see her big sister who, she's 15, so she's super cool, right? Mickey doesn't have soda either. If we go out to like eat, She even does like lemonade, you know. I never really liked her to have it either at her house. Her mom's the same way. So like, you know, we never just did sodas, you know. And so I told her, I'm like, they're not good for you. I said, do you understand? I'm like, none of that stuff that goes in your body is good for you. So I'm like trying to help her understand that. So then we're at because they have so many grandkids and there's always a birthday party. So we're always at all their birthday parties. And so I said, she goes, there's no juices. Can I have the orange soda? And I said, no, please stop asking me if you can have soda. They have water, so you can drink water. And so I turn around and I feel so bad because all the kids that are sitting at the kids' table have a soda and she's the only one with her water, you know, and I'm just like, gosh, I bet that's got to be embarrassing to her that, you know, she's got to sit with her friends and, you know, she's not drinking the soda. So I said, I have to do a better job of explaining to her why these things are not good for you. And so I kind of told her and I said, this is not good for you.
Smart.
Yeah. And I went down the whole thing. I'm like, I'm not trying to be, because when she tries me, I said, oh, I'm turning into mean mom right now. So you either fix the problem.
Right. Be careful.
I said, that's it. I said, I feel it coming. It's touching my toe.
The same thing. Yeah. Do you hear my toe changing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's coming. I feel it in my toe.
I'm not mad, you're mad.
Exactly. Basically.
Totally. And you're like, please don't, please. Yeah. I don't want to go there right now.
Exactly. So I'm like always telling her, and I said, so I just like, I was telling my husband, I was like, I just have to do a better job of explaining to her that this is not why this isn't good for you. And I finally did. She just doesn't ask for it now. You know what I'm saying? And it was because I had to explain.
In my house.
Yeah.
Colleen rarely asks for my phone now. I'm not going to say she never. Rarely. Definitely not at bedtime anymore. Because it's like she affiliated that moment with her phone or a phone. They don't ask. It's gone. It's done. That period of time where they may have missed it or had that addiction to it, it goes away. It stops. So it's like, why are we stressing over like such a tiny blip for a lifetime of improvement? But it's hard. I get it.
Yeah, it is super hard. Yeah, because they're around other kids whose parents, you know, parent different, as you should, right? Because every household is different. You know, when I found out she had McDonald's, I about had a shit attack. And she goes, can I have McDonald's? I said, why would you want McDonald's? And then she goes, oh, I ate it the other day. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
I think
clearly not.
I think we just need to refrain the way we think about this, because I mean, even talking about this, it's like we're the bad ones or something. It's one of those things where it's almost like, no. Like me taking the phone away from the child is not a bad thing. The bad thing is you freely giving it's basically, this is going to put my kid in a cage. The other way is like, if I don't give my kid this, I'm giving them a lot more time, a lot more freedom, a lot more opportunity to not just be scrolling all day and just be fixated on the thing. And I think if we refrain the way we look at it, it'll actually help us even better, because then we're able to sell it to the kids a lot better because we actually believe what we're saying, not just, well, I want them to fit in. It's like, or they could just be an individual that can think on their own and be free from just being captivated.
It's changing. I agree, and I think it's changing. The amount of parents that come up to us like thanking us for something you would think, you have a small population that feel a little bit defensive about it, but the majority are just so thankful that there's a lifeline there finally for them to hold on to on a topic that genuinely inside we've all kind of felt like it just doesn't feel good. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel nice, right? And as a parent, we don't feel great about even our use of our phones in particular ways. And so I feel like we're finally getting someplace where we can hopefully change that tide. We can see the different pressure coming the other way. Like, oh, your kid has a phone at 9? What the heck is wrong with this? Like, you know, maybe not tomorrow, but I think that's the direction we're heading. And if we just stick with it, the parents of the younger kids, like the 5 and up, when they're at that age, it'll be golden. It's hard. It's hard for the parents of the middle schoolers now, and especially the high schoolers. But, and again, I know you're all up on time, but if you go on our website, you'll see there's information about this second window of opportunity. When I talk about the brain developing, there is a 9 to 14-year-old age where you can get one more imprint on that development. So, you can check it out and read a little bit about it. But
and that's from 9 to 14.
That's correct. Yeah, it's called the second window of opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny. This whole thing goes into the series they're having at church right now, because the pastor was talking about, like, from right now until the age of 9, it is discipline years. And so this is where you teach foundation. This is where you teach, I said no because this, you know what I'm saying? We do this because, we do this because, I'm just going to use church, for example. We go to church on Sundays to learn about God, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, like, these are the ages of foundation. And then 9 to 14 is the second phase. And that's where you start letting them make decisions because you've already taught the foundation from children to, from baby to infant to 9. You should have already have taught foundation, decision making, right and wrong, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All those things, so that by the time they're 9 to 14, which are those struggling teenage years, you're going into them and, you're seeing all this stuff. This girl's wearing lipstick. How come I can't wear lipstick? And, all those things. You've already kind of established the why, or that open door policy where it's like, hey, we've kind of talked about this. We can revisit it maybe next year. You know what I'm saying? Right. It doesn't have to be, because that's one thing he said, is like because I said so is not always a good response, It's
true.
And so it's like, it's not an I said so. Sometimes it's good to have some kind of explanation with your I said so, do be the, authority figure, but also explain why things work that way. So this is like all goes hand in hand with that. I'll send you the series. It's really good because, I just feel like parenting has changed so much from when you and I were growing up, probably from my parents as well. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's a great, I think it's Bark is the company that created their own line of these dumb phones. Because the daughter was caught talking to a predator online. She didn't realize it was a predator. She accidentally switched to, did a dyslexia type thing where switched 2 of the numbers. She gave her house address to meet up with this person, not knowing it was a predator, and switched the numbers by mistake. So this gentleman went to the neighbor's house, and that's how they found out. So she started, I think it's Bark. And then they have online, it's called Parenting 2.0. So Parent 1.0 is maybe our parents, and now it's Parent 2.0, and life has changed. We have to parent in such a different way. So to your point, it's a great video. Check it out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty scary.
It is. Because, I know I'm guilty of going through life thinking like, well, I don't want to cause no childhood trauma to my kid. Like, what am, making sure, like, excuse me, they have, like, we're able to talk. I couldn't talk to my mom. My mom didn't have an open door policy. It was like,
yeah, it was different.
This is what I said, and it's because I said so. I pay the bills in this house. This was her thing. The day you start paying a bill in this house is the day you have an opinion. So there was no opinion.
You have to be careful, right? There's like a pendulum. You give that child too much power and authority in their home where they think their opinion matters so much, you lose your authority, right? Yeah. And that, I think, happened maybe in a little bit of 5 years ago. Like parent, your kid has feelings. We need to be careful about their feelings. It's like, they don't really know what to do with their feelings yet. So we still need to guide them. You can tell me how you feel. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm going to allow you to do whatever you want. Yeah. So we kind of lost it a little bit there.
That's what you have up until that's what you have up until the 9.
You sound low.
They're like, y'all been talking too long.
Yeah, right. It's funny because Penny the other day said to me, Mom, you really hurt my feelings. I said, I did? Well, why? And she goes, because you were just really talking mean the whole time. And I said, you want to know why? I said, because I have to ask for things. Not one time. Tell me how many times I asked for it first. I said, she goes, I don't know. I said, well, I can tell you. I said, I had to ask 5 times. I said, so now we passed 5 times. I said, and then you still didn't do it after the 5 times. I said, so now, now I had to turn into mean mom. Yeah. I said, and now I'm upset. I said, so now you've hurt my feelings for not listening to me. Do you understand? So when you hurt my feelings, it turns into anger because I'm frustrated that you're not listening. I said, and now you feel I'm being mean. I said, but in reality, you were the one that was mean to mom because you didn't listen.
Yep.
And she just looked at me.
Oh, you got me, Mom.
And she's like, okay. She was like, okay. So I said, so do you understand why when I ask, it needs to be done? I said, yeah. She goes, yes. I said, great. I said, so now mom doesn't have to be mean and mom doesn't have to yell at you. I said, because you listened and now we're both happy. I'm not mean to you and you're not mean to me. Okay, mom, I pinky swear. Okay, we've solved that problem, but it was like, man, girl, like I don't have to spank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus.
It's like everything has its season. Like, and like that's why they have the 9 and then you have the up until 14 is because it's like beforehand they have the brain of a dog basically. Like they learn the learning system, the reward system. And then the other one is critically thinking. So basically, like when you're doing the critically thinking, you're developing those skills. So you have to act accordingly. And then on top of that, it's the worst age too, because puberty. So, I mean, it's like you have to be graceful in a lot of those decisions. So they're really emotional when they make decisions. You need to be able to navigate all those waters. But like parents aren't taking the time to like figure out, oh, I'm dealing with a ticking time bomb right now. Okay, I'm also dealing, like these are all time type of things that should have been taught. That's why you have the foundations thing. It's like, teach them there so that when they're going through puberty, they can make those sound decisions. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Parenting's hard.
Parenting, I know. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on. I'm sorry I kept you like, oh my God, 2 hours.
Thank you.
Is that 2 hours?
A lot of editing to do, but
Hilary, so sorry. Okay, y'all.
I'm good.
So you got to be back because you got to tell us like how it's been going.
I will, yeah.
Because we got to see how much it's grown.
And we plan on doing an evaluation, hopefully, of the entire program. We're speaking with a researcher. All she does is research. She's a parent, but she calls it a community-wide intervention. And she's like, I want to see if we can quantitatively analyze your progress. So hopefully we will have some numbers.
So if anybody wants to reach you to see if they can this could be something that they could implement into their school, where could they reach you?
So if you go on the website, smart-families.org, there's like a contact form there.
Okay, and they can reach out there.
I read all of those submissions personally.
Okay.
You can also just email info@smart-families.org.
Okay.
We are looking to expand 100%.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to see it. I need to take that pledge, though.
So it's a closed pledge right now. So we decided if your school's enrolled in our program, we want to track it. So those are people we have taking the pledge. Otherwise,
how do schools apply?
So you contacting me, just contact me.
So if a parent's interested in like a different like school, like their district, like oh my school doesn't do this, like the parent would reach out to or get the.
It would eventually go through the principal, right? So right now we're with the whole district. So we're able to tackle or have access to 40 schools at one time. Preferably that's great because then you can say everybody in your community is on board as well and it helps the principal. But since we're so new and we're so young, we're open to trying anything if it's just one particular school who's very passionate about it and we have the bandwidth to take it on. We obviously want to give them that support. For sure.
That's so good. Well, thank you again for being on. And y'all, go on there and look up, get the information. Say the website again.
smart-families.org. We put our guides and our newsletters on there. They come out once a month. You can subscribe to get them into your inbox. I know we all get thousands of emails, but...
And you'll have it in the description.
Yeah,
so it'll be in the description.
We haven't rolled out our social media yet, ironically. Still kind of working.
Well, that'd be kind of being like, know, I can see.
We know that.
Website is still, traditional, old school. So I think that's a good idea to keep it that way. But I can see why. The first thing I'm sure people will ask is, do they have a social media? Are you on social media?
Out, but we're not against it. Obviously, we're really helping children. And so if it helps a parent, it helps a child. But yeah.
That's funny. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Y'all be sure to go check out their website so that you can learn more. And I love to hear what you guys are doing to not have your child on the gadget if you're doing anything or at all. So that'd be cool to know. So thank you guys. See y'all next week. Bye.